again, and welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Rural Report. I am your Rural 2IC, and today we're going to talk about bartering. And bartering, I think, is going to be one of those things that you can not only do now in a relative time of peace, but during and even after an SHTF event. Bartering is that thing to where it's basically what you're doing now. You go and do tasks or some sort of labor, and in turn you get some sort of monetary thing in return for what you have done, and then you take that thing that you have earned and thus trade it for food and supplies and other things that you use in your daily life. It's just a trade system is all it is. So it is in turn bartering. Now, bartering, I think, is again, it's a pretty critical thing because one, if you are in an SHTF event or even afterwards, you're going to have to try and imagine a world without money. And bartering, you are using items in place of money. Instead of giving a paper for a thing, you are trading a thing for a thing. So if you didn't have money, how would you go about getting necessities? How would you go about getting things that you absolutely need and some things that are more in the want category, something that you don't have to have, but it would be nice if you did. You would enjoy it if you could do it. And I think that bartering is kind of a vital tool to be able to learn. There's a lot of people, I think, that they have the false sense that they know how to barter. And when the time comes, I think that they'll have a very rude awakening when it comes to actual bartering, because there is a definite skill there that needs to be developed. Think about if you go to a yard sale or a flea market or anything along those lines where it's two private parties and you both are trying to get the best deal possible in the most sense. But one of the first things, though, that I want to cover with this is let's start in square one. You're not even face to face with somebody. You need to assess your items, your assets, the things that you have, to figure out one, what are you going to even barter with, because you can't trade nothing for something in most of the time. But you need to take an inventory of what you have, your possessions, your assets, the things that you physically have, or the skill and labor that you can also trade with. For the most part, it is going to be actual tangible objects that you are going to be bartering with. And then you've got to try and assess what that value is, because one, you want to assess the value for yourself. Is this something that you absolutely need and should not barter? Is this something that you have a scarcity of, but you are willing to part with it if you need it? Or you have an abundance, it's okay to get rid of some. Or the last category, I got this item just for bartering purposes. And then really it's a good thing to do now. We're in a relative peacetime, and to be able to take inventory of what you have and go through and determine a perceived value. How important would this item be for somebody? Uh, you can have something as simple as a pencil. Right now, who cares? Who would really trade a pencil for pretty much anything? Because pencils are cheap, they're abundant, they're everywhere. But if somebody needs a pencil, now all of a sudden the value has gone up, right? It's basic economics. The more that it is desired and the less there is of it, thus creates the price. So let's jump down and let's go into basically the essential stuff. So the things that will constantly be desired in a barter is going to be things like food and water. Those will always be on demand. You really can't have too much food and water. You To be able to have a long shelf life food that is going to be safe for consumption and to have clean drinkable water is going to be such a highly sought after commodity that I think that'll be one of the most number one uh, bartering items. But you can put in the same category as one of the most desirables is also going to be medical supplies. And you can probably throw sanitation in there as well because it kind of goes hand in hand with medical. But to think about all the stuff that's relatively cheap now, all of your bandages, gauze, things like that, to go through and try and get an abundance of it. A lot of those things like gauze, if you store them correctly, they don't have a shelf life. They don't go bad. You can buy a bunch of them in bulk, store them properly, and then you have them in time of need, or you are able to trade them. But there's a lot of different things that I think when it comes to food, water, and medical, those are probably going to be some of the most top tier. One of the things I think that people kind of miss out on is things like tools, uh, to the ability to have something as simple as a hammer or a screwdriver or a wrench or something along those lines. Uh, it's going to be very frustrating for you to be so close to something, but you just need that one tool. And I know there's going to be a lot of people that say that, I can improvise. Anything's a hammer. Yeah, I mean, to a point, right? Uh, Nothing really replaces an actual hammer, the right tool for the job. But one of the things I'm going to throw in here before we move on is going to be some of the things that you don't think about, and it's going to be stuff like auto parts, to have an extra belt laying around. Can you imagine that there's a person that has a minivan or a truck or whatever, and that is their bug out vehicle? That's their only vehicle, and their belt snaps. You can't go anywhere without a belt. And that belt that's just laying around in your garage, suddenly that thing has a ton of value. And to be able to have a lot of the cheaper stuff, spark plugs, people aren't going to get very far if you start getting cylinder misfires and all the different things that go along hand in hand with that. uh, there's a lot of different things of even bulbs. It starts limiting if somebody's not creative or doesn't know how to do various things, to be able to have a wiring connector or electrical tape or something like that, something happened and they don't have the right tools or materials to make that repair. Maybe they can't travel at night. To have some sort of a pump, you need tires to be able to travel around. The ability to pump up a tire, it's going to be pretty important. Or to have a tire patch kit and the knowledge to be able to utilize it and actually repair. You could probably start up a tire repair little business during a crisis or after a crisis if you have that. But one of the things too is once you get all of that stuff, so you've got your stuff, you've got a perceived value and things like that. um, you've got to kind of determine also what's fair. Once you get into that situation where you're going into your barter, it's good to take history. So you go in and maybe you do a couple of barters or something like that to start seeing and what is people trading, what are people asking for. And if you want a really good idea, maybe you don't even know where to begin right now, start looking up different natural disasters and different crises and events throughout your local area or areas close to you, and start seeing what is it that people asked for the most. And there's a really good start. A lot of times it's going to be kind of the basics. It's going to be some sort of sheltering thing, a lot of bathroom stuff, toilet paper, shampoo, soap, toothbrushes, baby care items, things like that. Go look, build your list off of that. Those are the things that people are demanding when something bad happens. Um, and then you also want to try and practice negotiating and compromise. You're not always going to get the best deal, um, and always be very mindful that something too good to be true often and most of the time is too good to be true. Remember to practice good security and things like that as you go through. But once you get into that deal, you have to be very, very careful about who you're bartering with, what you're bartering, what they're asking for, what you take with you, the area in which you set up the barter. I would imagine that towards an end of an SHTF or even after an SHTF, that you can start having it to where little tents pop up and it starts becoming like a little barter alley or a barter field or something like that. You're still going to want to have security. You're still going to want to have a lookout, not only to during, but even after. You don't want anybody following you back to where you are because maybe they don't have the necessities that they needed to complete the barter or the trade. And so they just have better idea that they'll just follow you back and take it. So make sure that you're prepared for things like that. Now's the time to practice. Go to these different garage sales and flea markets and stuff, and find something and practice your negotiating skills and see how well you are doing. There's people that they don't do good in stressful situations and different things. Uh, and it's good to be able to read people, to go up and know when it's a waste of time. They're firm. Nope, not even going to attempt to haggle, uh, and to kind of know, is it going to be one of them things to where uh, people are just asking way too high of a price, and you also have to kind of get a feel for what's going on. Are you asking way too low of a price? You are getting taken advantage of. But as you go through, if you are establishing a barter thing, then you start getting to where community starts coming together. You're building some trust, uh, but it also starts establishing that reputation for being a good person to barter with. You start becoming a commodity because they don't trust other people. Those people are trying to take advantage, or they're bartering really bad items or bad food or whatever. People don't want to deal with that. And it only takes a couple, times, and word travels fast, right? And so you want to try and be careful with that. But to kind of round this out, go through, make sure that any bartering you do, try and make it a good location. You got to try and be as safe as possible. Stay aware of your surroundings. You don't want people sneaking up and taking advantage of the situation. You don't want people following you back to wherever you are. We don't like uninvited guests, right? Because then you only take a few percentage of things that you have. If they follow you back, then they got 100% of everything that you've got. Make sure that you are low key about yourself. Don't go around bragging about things like, oh yeah, this is a great knife. I've got 50 of them back at my place and things like that. Watch what you're doing, watch what you're saying. Don't become a target. It's one of those that uh, I see a lot of people love to post pictures and brag about all the different goods that they have stockpiled. Conceal your stuff as best as you can, so that way it just makes everything a little bit more safer. Remember variety, to have low, medium, and high valued items. You don't want to be just the one person that all you've got is that one thing, because you might miss out on some other stuff, and you don't want to just become known as the person that all they've got's band-aids, right? You want to have a variety, so that way you can also uh, not really take advantage, but more opportunity will present itself. But now's the time to go through and really kind of take inventory, so that way you can see what you have, what you are lacking, so that way you can stockpile for future bartering if it ever comes up. Now remember, you don't have to wait for a crisis, right? Start practicing those negotiating skills. Start learning how to compromise and dealing with different people on different things. And some of the best things that you can do is go to events or reach out to different people on different prepping things, and set up some sort of a barter thing. Maybe what you have an abundance of in your area, somebody else, it's scarce over there, vice versa. Maybe what you're looking for, they have a ton of, and you guys can set up a very good barter system. So now is a good time to start bartering and reaching out and being able to practice and put all this stuff into a good perspective to where you start getting those skills a little bit more fine-tuned and sharpened. So, but that's what I've got for you guys today. I hope this helps out a little bit. Let me know down in the comment section below your thoughts on bartering and how well prepared are you for it. But I hope you guys have an amazing day. I hope you have a blessed day. Stay tuned because there's more information to come. And with that, remain united because we're all prepping in this together.